Welcome to Land of Horror. Today, we will continue our journey to explore the most chilling mysteries. Do you have the courage to face spooky stories, terrifying legends, and unexplained supernatural phenomena? Join me as we delve into haunted places, dark secrets, and legendary figures that will send shivers down your spine. Before we begin, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any videos, and let's step into the world of Land of Horror together. Get ready, because thrilling moments await you. Are you ready to explore? Mia Thompson stood on the threshold of her new life, her heart racing with excitement and anxiety as she gazed up at the towering brick buildings of Crestwood University. The campus buzzed with the energy of new beginnings. Students laughed, chatted, and moved in groups, their faces bright with anticipation. It was a crisp autumn day, the leaves painted in fiery shades of red and gold, and Mia felt a flicker of hope that this would be the place where she finally found her footing. As a freshman majoring in psychology, Mia had always been fascinated by the intricacies of the human mind. She envisioned herself as a beacon of support for those struggling with mental health issues, a guiding light in the often dark and lonely corridors of human emotion. However, beneath her optimistic exterior lay a growing sense of dread, the weight of expectations, both her own and those of her family, loomed over her like a dark cloud. Mia's parents had high hopes for her. They envisioned her as a successful psychologist, helping others while achieving great accolades in her field. As she unpacked her belongings in her dorm room, a flood of thoughts assaulted her. What if I disappoint them? What if I can't keep up? She pushed the thoughts aside, reminding herself that she was finally free from the confines of high school. This was her chance to reinvent herself. In her first weeks at Crestwood, Mia threw herself into her studies and social life, determined to make the most of her college experience. She attended welcome events, joined clubs, and met new friends. However, as the initial thrill of freedom faded, so did her sense of belonging. The pressure to excel began to manifest in ways she hadn't anticipated. Mia found herself increasingly isolated, caught in a cycle of self-doubt and anxiety. One Friday night, Mia received an invitation to a party hosted by the psychology department. It was a chance to connect with fellow students and professors, and she felt a twinge of excitement mixed with trepidation. After a quick pep talk to herself in the mirror, "You can do this, Mia!" she donned her favorite dress and headed out. As she entered the bustling party, the atmosphere was electric. Students mingled, music pulsed through the air, and laughter echoed off the walls. Mia felt a rush of exhilaration as she navigated through the crowd, exchanging smiles and small talk. However, the excitement quickly spiraled into a feeling of being overwhelmed. The noise grew louder, the lights brighter, and suddenly, the room felt like it was closing in on her. Before she knew it, the familiar sensation of panic gripped her chest. She struggled to breathe, her heart pounding like a drum. In a frantic attempt to escape the chaos, Mia pushed her way through the throngs of people, her mind racing. "I need to get out. I need to breathe." She dashed out of the party and into the dimly lit hallway of the dormitory, the walls feeling both confining and comforting. Finding a secluded corner, she collapsed onto the floor, leaning against the cool brick wall. In that moment, the world outside faded away, and she was left with her chaotic thoughts. What's wrong with me? Why can't I just be normal? As Mia sat there, tears streamed down her cheeks. The isolation that had begun to creep in during her first few weeks now engulfed her. She felt like an outsider, struggling to fit into a world that seemed so easy for everyone else. Just then, a shadow fell across her, and she looked up to see a girl standing before her, Jenna, a fellow student she had met at orientation. "Mia, are you okay?" Jenna's voice was gentle, filled with concern. Mia felt a mix of relief and embarrassment. She quickly wiped her tears and forced a smile. I'm fine, just a little overwhelmed, she lied, not wanting to burden anyone with her struggles. Jenna sat down beside her, her presence grounding Mia. They began to talk, and for the first time, Mia felt a glimmer of connection. Jenna shared her own experiences of feeling out of place, and in that moment, Mia realized she wasn't alone. They laughed and exchanged stories, and for a brief period, Mia forgot about her anxiety. But as the night wore on, the panic returned, creeping back into her mind. That lingering doubt and fear of inadequacy were too strong to shake. The next day, she found herself unable to attend her classes, paralyzed by anxiety. She locked herself in her room, isolating herself from the world. As days turned into weeks, the vibrant campus life outside her window felt like a distant dream. In the following weeks, Mia's friends became increasingly concerned about her. They noticed her absence from social gatherings and her reluctance to engage in conversation. One afternoon, Jenna knocked on Mia's door, determined to check on her. "Mia, we're all worried about you. Please let me in," she pleaded. Mia hesitated, grappling with her emotions. She wanted to confide in Jenna, to share the turmoil brewing inside her, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she replied, "I'm just studying, I'll be fine." Yet, deep down, Mia knew she was spiraling. She started experiencing panic attacks more frequently, often in the dead of night, leaving her gasping for air and drowning in fear. Each episode left her more drained, like a puppet with its strings cut, flailing in the dark. She sought refuge in solitude, where her thoughts became her only companions. One fateful evening, as autumn nights grew longer and darker, Mia sat in her room, overwhelmed by feelings of despair. The walls seemed to close in around her, and she found herself staring at her reflection in the mirror. The girl staring back looked lost. Her eyes were sunken, her hair unkempt, and her smile a mere ghost of what it once was. In a moment of desperation, she reached for a pair of scissors on her desk. She thought that perhaps, if she could control something, anything, she would find relief. As she snipped away at her hair, her mind raced with thoughts of inadequacy and failure. With every cut, a sense of release washed over her, but it was fleeting. The moment she dropped the scissors and looked at the pile of hair on the floor, a wave of shame crashed over her. What have I done? In that dark moment, a chilling realization struck Mia. She was losing herself, and if she didn't reach out for help soon, she might vanish entirely into her own despair. As the weeks rolled on at Crestwood University, Mia's world began to shrink. The vibrant colors of autumn outside her dorm room window faded into a blur as the leaves fell, much like her mental state. She rarely left her room anymore, preferring the solitude that had slowly morphed from comforting to suffocating. While her friends ventured out to explore campus events and socialize, Mia retreated further into her own mind, trapped in a labyrinth of anxiety and despair. Her days began to follow a monotonous routine. She woke up late, skipped classes, and spent hours lying on her bed, staring at the ceiling, lost in her thoughts. The darkness felt more tangible than ever, wrapping around her like a heavy blanket. In the rare moments she looked in the mirror, she didn't recognize the reflection staring back. It was as if the person she once was had been replaced by a stranger, someone hollow and defeated. Mia's only companions became the objects that filled her room. She found herself obsessively organizing her belongings. Piles of clothes, books, and random trinkets were stacked in a meticulous order that only she understood. Among these objects, a pair of scissors and a small handheld mirror became her most frequent confidants. The scissors, with their gleaming blades, seemed to whisper promises of control and relief. In the mirror, she sought validation, searching for the girl she used to be, but finding only a ghost of herself. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and darkness settled in, Mia felt an overwhelming urge to pick up the scissors again. She sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by her scattered belongings, the air thick with silence. The sharp edges glinted in the dim light, drawing her in like a moth to a flame. With trembling hands, she traced the outline of her hair, contemplating the weight of it all. "It's just hair," she whispered to herself, her voice barely audible. "It'll grow back." The thought provided a fleeting sense of comfort, and she began to snip away at her locks, each cut a release of pent-up frustration and anxiety. With every strand that fell to the floor, a piece of her burden seemed to dissipate. But the relief was ephemeral. The moment she dropped the scissors and looked around at the chaos she created, a wave of shame crashed over her. The pile of hair served as a physical manifestation of her inner turmoil, and she was consumed by guilt for allowing herself to spiral so far. She scrambled to clean up, but the act only intensified her feelings of inadequacy. Meanwhile, Mia's roommates began to notice her increasingly erratic behavior. Jenna, who had tried to be supportive, became more worried with each passing day. She watched as Mia isolated herself, the flicker of joy that once danced in her eyes replaced with a vacant stare. "Mia, we're really concerned about you," Jenna said one day after finding Mia alone in their shared living room, her hair a wild mess around her shoulders. "You haven't been to class in days. You need to talk to someone." Mia glanced at her friend, torn between wanting to confide in her and the instinct to hide her struggles. "I'm fine, really. Just busy with studying," she replied, her voice lacking conviction. Deep down, she knew she was lying, but the thought of opening up about her pain felt insurmountable. As the days turned into weeks, Mia's self-destructive behavior escalated. She began to engage in bizarre rituals, such as counting the strands of hair she pulled from her head or staring at her reflection for hours, analyzing every flaw she saw. One night, as she gazed into the mirror, a thought struck her. What if I could erase the parts of me that I hate? With that notion festering in her mind, Mia's connection with the scissors deepened. It became a twisted form of therapy, a way to exert control in a world where everything felt overwhelming. She would cut her hair until her hands trembled, then pause to examine her reflection, searching for a glimmer of hope or a sign of change. But instead, she saw a girl trapped in a cycle of despair, her spirit waning with every snip. One fateful evening, as a storm raged outside, Mia found herself ensnared in a frenzy of anxiety. The howling wind echoed her internal turmoil, and she felt the walls of her room closing in around her. In a moment of desperation, she hurled the scissors across the room, watching them clatter against the wall. It was an act of rebellion against the hold her anxiety had over her. Suddenly, an idea struck her. She could document her struggle. Maybe through writing, she could articulate the chaos that swirled within her. Fueled by a mix of determination and despair, Mia grabbed a notebook and began to pour her thoughts onto the pages. "I'm losing myself," she wrote frantically, "and I don't know how to stop it." The words flowed like a river, each sentence a cathartic release of pent-up emotions. Yet, as the storm outside intensified, Mia felt an ominous presence creeping into her mind. The shadows danced in the corners of her room, whispering doubts and fears that she had tried to silence. "Are you really going to let this define you?" they seemed to taunt. "You'll never be happy. You'll always be alone." The words struck deep, amplifying her feelings of isolation. Mia's grip on the pen tightened as she continued to write, tears streaming down her face. But even as she wrote, she felt the distance between her and her friends grow. Jenna and the others had become increasingly worried and reached out for help, but Mia pushed them away. She didn't want them to see her like this, to witness the unraveling of her mind. Instead, she retreated further into her own darkness, refusing to acknowledge the love and concern surrounding her. As days turned into weeks, Mia's self-destructive behaviors took a toll. She stopped eating, her body becoming frail. and she lost weight rapidly. The once vibrant girl, who had entered college full of hope and promise, was now a shadow of her former self. The reflection in the mirror haunted her, a constant reminder of the battle she was losing. During one particularly stormy night, as rain lashed against the windows and thunder rumbled in the distance, Mia was pushed to the brink. Alone in her room, the weight of her despair felt unbearable. The voice in her head grew louder, drowning out any remnants of hope. "You're worthless," it whispered. "You'll never be enough." In a moment of sheer desperation, Mia grabbed the scissors once more, her hands trembling. But this time, the intent shifted. It was no longer about hair. It was about something darker. She felt an urge to hurt herself, to manifest the pain she felt inside. With tears streaming down her face, she pressed the blade against her skin, trembling with fear and despair. But just as she was about to make a choice that could alter the course of her life forever, a sudden knock on her door jolted her back to reality. Startled, she froze, the scissors poised dangerously close to her skin. The voice came again, urgent and frantic. "Me! Open the door! Please!" It was Jenna, her voice filled with desperation. The pounding on the door seemed to pierce through Mia's clouded mind. In that moment, the noise from outside drowned out the darkness inside her head. "Mia, please! We're worried about you. Just let me in!" Jenna cried, her voice trembling with emotion. In that moment of turmoil, Mia was faced with a choice. Would she succumb to the darkness that threatened to consume her, or would she reach out for help? The rain poured down relentlessly for days, mirroring the turmoil inside Mia's heart. As she sat alone in her dimly lit room, the storm outside became a fitting backdrop for the chaos within her mind. She felt like a ship caught in a tempest, tossed about by waves of despair, with no anchor in sight. The dark thoughts that had once been mere whispers had morphed into thunderous roars, drowning out any flicker of hope she might have clung to. It had been weeks since Mia had last attended a class or participated in any social activity. Her friends had expressed concern, but every time they reached out, she had pushed them away. They didn't understand. They couldn't possibly comprehend the depth of her struggle. Isolation became her refuge, and in her solitude, she convinced herself that she was safer away from the world. Yet, the price of that safety was her mental health, spiraling further into a void of self-loathing and despair. Mia's nightmares grew more vivid and unsettling, each one a disturbing reflection of her inner demons. She dreamed of dark hallways, suffocating shadows, and whispered accusations that echoed through her mind. One night, she found herself in a nightmare where she was trapped in an endless maze, each corner revealing more of her fears, her inadequacy, her loneliness, and the suffocating pressure to succeed. In the midst of this turmoil, the sound of a persistent knocking on her door broke through the haze of her dreams. Startled awake, Mia's heart raced as she recognized Jenna's voice on the other side. "Mia, please! I'm really worried about you. Can you let me in?" For a moment, Mia hesitated, caught in the tug-of-war between her desire for connection and the crippling fear of vulnerability. She took a deep breath and pulled herself off the bed. Her reflection in the mirror showed a haunted girl, eyes sunken and hair disheveled. Still, she turned away from the mirror, unwilling to face the truth staring back at her. "Me!" Jenna's voice broke through again, filled with urgency. "I'm coming in!" Before Mia could react, the door creaked open and Jenna stepped inside, concern etched on her face. "Mia, you've been in here for so long. I thought you might have." Jenna stopped abruptly, taking in the disarray of the room, the scattered clothes, the unmade bed, and the silence that hung heavily in the air. "I'm fine, Jenna. Just tired," Mia lied, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Jenna's expression softened, but her eyes betrayed her worry. "You don't look fine. You look unwell. Please talk to me." The warmth in Jenna's voice broke through the ice that had formed around Mia's heart. It was as if a tiny crack had appeared in her carefully constructed wall of isolation. But even in that moment of vulnerability, the voice in her head screamed for her to retreat, to hide. "Why are you so concerned about me?" Mia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm just a burden. You'd be better off without me." "Mia, that's not true," Jenna replied, stepping closer, her eyes filled with empathy. "You're my friend, and I care about you. We all do. But you need help. This isn't just about being tired or busy. You're struggling, and that's okay. But you can't do this alone." Mia felt the walls around her begin to crack as she battled with her emotions. A part of her longed to confide in Jenna, to share the depths of her pain and the torment she faced daily. But the fear of judgment and rejection loomed larger than ever. Before she could respond, the weight of her thoughts became too heavy, and in a moment of despair, she collapsed onto her bed, burying her face in her hands. "I don't know how to fix this," she sobbed. "I'm scared, Jenna. I feel so lost." Jenna knelt beside her, placing a comforting hand on her back. "You don't have to have all the answers. You just need to take one step at a time. Let's talk to someone together. We can go to the counseling center." "No," Mia shouted, the outburst surprising even herself. She sat up, eyes wide with panic. I can't let anyone else see me like this. I don't want them to know." "Mia," Jenna said softly, "not getting help will only make things worse. You're not alone in this. I'm right here with you." Mia felt a flicker of hope at the sincerity in Jenna's voice. But just as quickly, it was extinguished by the self-doubt that gnawed at her insides. She opened her mouth to protest, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she curled back into herself, feeling the familiar darkness closing in. Days passed in a blur, and the shadows in Mia's mind deepened. She became consumed by the idea that she was a burden to everyone around her, that they would be better off without her. In the depths of her despair, she began to engage in darker thoughts, whispering to herself that perhaps the world would be better if she simply vanished. One night, as a storm raged outside, Mia found herself staring out of her window, the rain pelting against the glass like 1,000 tiny hammers. Her mind raced with thoughts of escape, of finding a way out of the pain that seemed to engulf her whole being. The notion that she might be better off gone crept in like a thief in the night. In that moment of turmoil, Mia grabbed the scissors from her desk, the cold metal feeling strangely comforting in her hand. She could almost hear the seductive whispers urging her to take action, to silence the pain once and for all. But just as she was about to succumb to the darkness, a flash of lightning illuminated her room, revealing the shattered remnants of her sanity scattered around her. Suddenly, the door burst open again, and Jenna rushed in, panic evident on her face. "Me! I was worried about you. Please, put the scissors down." Mia froze, her heart racing as she met Jenna's frantic gaze. In that moment, she saw not just concern, but fear. Fear of losing her friend to the very darkness she was fighting against. "What are you doing?" Jenna's voice was steady but filled with urgency. "This isn't the answer. You're stronger than this." Mia's grip on the scissors wavered as Jenna's words pierced through the fog in her mind. She hesitated, the internal battle raging within her. "I don't know how to be strong anymore," she admitted, her voice cracking. "I'm tired of fighting." Tears streamed down Jenna's face as she stepped closer, reaching out to gently take the scissors from Mia's trembling hands. "You don't have to fight alone. I'll help you. We'll get through this together." For the first time in weeks, Mia felt a spark of connection, a reminder that she didn't have to carry the weight of her struggles alone. The enormity of the situation began to sink in, and with it, the realization that maybe, just maybe, there was a way out of the darkness. As Jenna sat beside her, holding her hand, Mia found herself opening up about her feelings for the first time. She shared the suffocating weight of expectations, the fear of failure, and the loneliness that had taken root in her heart. Jenna listened intently, never breaking eye contact, offering a silent promise that Mia wasn't alone in her battle. Over the next few days, Mia slowly began to consider the idea of seeking professional help. It wasn't an easy decision, and the thought of vulnerability terrified her. But Jenna's unwavering support made the prospect less daunting. Together, they scheduled an appointment at the campus counseling center, and for the first time in a long time, Mia felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. On the day of her appointment, Mia's nerves were at an all-time high. She fidgeted with her hands as they walked into the counseling center, the sterile environment filled with the faint scent of antiseptic and the distant hum of quiet conversations. The walls were adorned with motivational posters, but all Mia could focus on was the throbbing in her chest. "Remember, you're not alone in this," Jenna whispered, giving Mia's hand a reassuring squeeze as they waited in the small, unassuming lobby. When her name was called, Mia felt a surge of anxiety wash over her. She took a deep breath, steeling herself as she followed the counselor into a small office. The walls were painted a calming shade of blue, and a comfortable chair awaited her. "Mia, it's nice to meet you," the counselor said warmly, gesturing for her to sit. "I'm here to listen and support you. There's no pressure, just take your time." As Mia sat down, she felt the weight of her thoughts pressing against her chest. The moment she opened her mouth to speak, a torrent of emotion surged forth, spilling out like a dam that had finally broken. The words poured out in a rush, and as she spoke, she realized how long she had held them in. The counselor listened patiently, nodding and offering gentle encouragement as Mia recounted her struggles. For the first time, she felt seen and understood. Each confession felt like a weight lifted, a step closer to breaking free from the shackles of her mind. "I didn't realize how heavy this was until now," Mia admitted, wiping away tears. "I thought I could handle it alone." "You're doing the right thing by seeking help," the counselor replied gently. "It takes a lot of courage to open up about what you're going through. You're not alone in this fight." Over the next few sessions, Mia continued to share her experiences, slowly peeling back the layers of her pain. With each meeting, she found herself becoming more attuned to her feelings, beginning to understand the roots of her anxiety and depression. The process was grueling, but with Jenna by her side, Mia felt empowered to confront her demons. As the weeks turned into months, Mia made strides in her mental health journey. She learned coping strategies and techniques to manage her anxiety, and she began to rebuild her relationships with her friends. Though the road to recovery was far from smooth, Mia felt a sense of resilience growing within her. One evening, as she and Jenna sat together in their dorm room, Mia picked up a pair of scissors and examined them with newfound perspective. "I used to think these were a symbol of my pain," she said softly. "But now, I see them as a reminder of how far I've come." Jenna smiled, pride shining in her eyes. "You fought hard, Mia. You're stronger than you know." Mia felt a sense of warmth spread through her, a glimmer of hope that had once seemed unattainable. She realized that while her journey was far from over, she was no longer alone. Together, with Jenna and her growing support network, she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the storm clouds that had lingered for so long began to dissipate, Mia felt the first rays of sunlight breaking through, illuminating her path toward healing and self-acceptance. The future was still uncertain, but she was ready to embrace it with open arms. The spring semester at Crestwood University brought with it a sense of renewal. Flowers began to bloom, and the trees that had stood bare during the winter months burst into vibrant green life. For Mia, this change in the seasons mirrored her own transformation. After months of hard work and therapy, she felt as though she was finally emerging from the shadows that had once engulfed her. With Jenna's unwavering support, Mia had developed a routine that included regular therapy sessions, self-care practices, and an effort to reconnect with her passions. She took up journaling, using it as an outlet to express her thoughts and emotions. Writing became a sanctuary, a place where she could process her feelings without fear of judgment. One afternoon, as the sun streamed through her window, Mia decided to take a walk around campus. The fresh air felt invigorating against her skin, and the laughter of students mingling on the quad filled her with a sense of belonging she had long thought lost. With each step, she felt lighter, as if the burdens she had carried were slowly beginning to lift. But even as Mia began to thrive, remnants of her past lingered like shadows. She still had moments of doubt and anxiety, reminders of the struggles she had faced. During one of her therapy sessions, she discussed these feelings with her counselor. "I'm afraid of what might happen if I let my guard down completely," Mia confessed, her hands trembling slightly as she fidgeted with her necklace. "What if I fall back into that darkness?" Her counselor nodded thoughtfully. "It's natural to feel that way, especially after everything you've been through. Recovery isn't a straight path. It has its ups and downs. The important thing is to recognize when those thoughts arise and remind yourself of how far you've come." Inspired by this encouragement, Mia made a conscious effort to face her fears head-on. She signed up for a creative writing class, a decision that filled her with both excitement and dread. The thought of sharing her work with others felt daunting, but she was determined to push through her discomfort. On the first day of class, Mia walked into the small, intimate classroom, her heart pounding in her chest. The instructor, a charismatic woman named Dr. Kelly, welcomed the students with a warm smile, instantly putting them at ease. "Welcome to Creative Writing. This is a safe space for all of you to explore your voices and share your stories," Dr. Kelly said, her enthusiasm infectious. "I encourage you to be bold and fearless in your writing. Remember, every voice matters." Mia took a seat at the back, her hands clammy as she prepared to listen. As the class began, she felt a surge of inspiration as her classmates shared their own experiences. Each story was unique, yet the threads of vulnerability and resilience wove them together. By the time the class ended, Mia was buzzing with ideas, eager to put pen to paper. Over the next few weeks, Mia found herself immersed in writing. She poured her heart into her assignments, drawing from her own experiences with anxiety and depression. Her words flowed effortlessly, allowing her to express emotions she had struggled to articulate for so long. Each piece she wrote felt like a stepping stone toward healing. But as Mia continued to write and share, she also discovered a darker side to her creative expression. One evening, after a particularly intense writing session, she sat alone in a room, reviewing her work. Her latest piece, a raw exploration of her mental health struggles, had garnered praise from her classmates, but it also stirred up memories she had tried to suppress. The words she had written echoed in her mind, and the familiar voice of doubt crept back in. "You're just a burden. No one really wants to hear your story. You're not enough." Desperate to silence the noise, Mia reached for her journal, but this time she felt a wave of anger instead of sadness. She began to write frantically, unleashing all of her frustrations and fears onto the page. The pen moved faster than her thoughts, and before she knew it, she had filled several pages with a cathartic release of emotions. But as she flipped through her journal, she came across a dark entry she had written months ago, a moment of despair that felt like a lifetime away. The words stared back at her, a stark reminder of how far she had come, but also of how close she still felt to the edge. Overwhelmed, Mia took a deep breath and closed her journal. She needed to reach out, to talk to someone about these feelings. In that moment, she decided to call Jenna. "Mia?" Jenna answered, her voice filled with concern. "What's wrong?" "I don't know," Mia replied, her voice trembling. I feel lost again, like I'm teetering on the edge of everything I've worked for. I'm scared. Mia, it's okay to feel that way sometimes. You've been through so much. Just remember, you're not alone in this. Jenna reassured her. How about we meet up? I'll come over and we can talk. Within moments, Jenna arrived at Mia's dorm. They settled on the floor, surrounded by pillows and blankets, and Mia opened up about the whirlwind of emotions she had been experiencing. I thought I was getting better, but now I feel like I'm on this roller coaster that just won't stop. Mia confessed, tears streaming down her face. What if I can't handle it? Mia, you are handling it, Jenna said firmly. You're stronger than you think. It's okay to have moments of doubt. It's part of the journey, but you have to keep reaching out for support, even when it feels hard. As they talked late into the night, Mia felt the weight of her fears slowly begin to lift. Jenna's words were a reminder that healing wasn't linear. It was a process filled with ups and downs, victories and setbacks. In the days that followed, Mia committed to leaning into her vulnerability. She started attending a weekly support group for students struggling with mental health issues. The group was a safe space where they shared their experiences and offered each other encouragement. It became a crucial part of her healing journey. One evening, as they sat in a circle, sharing their stories, Mia noticed a new member, a girl named Clara. Clara was quiet, her eyes downcast as she listened to the others. Mia felt a tug at her heart. She remembered what it was like to feel alone and unseen. After the meeting, Mia approached Clara, determined to extend her hand. Hey, I'm Mia. I noticed you in the group. If you ever want to talk or hang out, I'm here. Clara looked up, surprised by the kindness in Mia's voice. Thanks. It's been really hard for me, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I understand, Mia said gently. It's a tough journey, but you don't have to go through it alone. As the days turned into weeks, Mia and Clara developed a friendship. They bonded over their shared experiences and the struggles they faced, supporting each other as they navigated the complexities of mental health. Clara inspired Mia to dig deeper into her writing, encouraging her to explore themes of resilience and connection. But just as Mia was finding her footing, she faced an unexpected challenge. One evening, while working on a new piece for her writing class, she received a text from Jenna. Mia, I need to talk to you. It's important. Mia's heart raced as she read the message. There was an urgency in Jenna's words that sent a chill down her spine. Without delay, she called Jenna back. Hey, what's going on? Mia asked, trying to keep her voice steady. There's something you need to know. It's about Clara, Jenna said, her voice trembling. She's been going through a lot more than she's let on. I found out she's been in crisis. Mia's heart sank. Clara had seemed so strong, so resilient. What do you mean? What happened? She had a breakdown last night. She didn't want to talk to anyone, but I think she really needs support right now, Jenna explained. I'm worried about her. Mia felt a wave of panic wash over her. Clara had opened up to her about her struggles, but had she hidden the severity of her situation? What can we do? Mia asked, her voice shaky. I think we need to reach out to her and let her know we're here for her. But we need to take it seriously, Jenna urged. I don't want her to feel alone in this. Mia nodded, determination surging within her. We need to help her. I won't let her go through this alone. The next day, Mia and Jenna arranged to meet Clara at a nearby cafe. As they sat at a small table, Mia could sense the weight of Clara's distress. She looked pale and tired, her eyes betraying the inner turmoil she was facing. Mia, Jenna, thanks for meeting me, Clara said, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't want to bother you guys. You're not a bother, Clara, Jenna said softly. We care about you. We're here to support you, no matter what. Mia leaned in closer, her heart aching for her friend. Clara, please know that it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to carry this burden alone. We're in this together. Tears welled in Clara's eyes as she nodded. I feel so lost. It's like I'm drowning and don't know how to swim. Mia took a deep breath, feeling the weight of Clara's pain resonate with her own past struggles. I've been there too, and it's hard. But we can figure this out together. Let's talk about what you're going through. You deserve to be heard. As they talked, Clara began to open up, sharing her story and the depths of her pain. The weight of her struggle spilled out in waves, and Mia listened intently, offering empathy and understanding. In that moment, Mia realized the power of connection. By sharing their experiences, they were building a lifeline of support for one another. Over the next few weeks, Clara began to attend the support group with Mia. It became a space for her to express her feelings, and with time, she found solace in the shared experiences of her peers. Together, they navigated the challenges of their mental health journeys, encouraging one another to keep fighting. Mia continued to write, and she poured her heart into her pieces, now inspired by her friendship with Clara. Her writing took on new dimensions, weaving in themes of resilience, hope, and the importance of community. As the semester drew to a close, Mia felt a sense of purpose igniting within her. But just as she was settling into this new phase of her life, the shadows of her past reemerged, lurking just beyond the surface. One afternoon, as she was studying in her room, she received a call from her mother. Mia, I need to talk to you about your father. Her mother's voice trembled on the other end. Mia's heart dropped. The strained relationship with her father had been a source of pain for her family, and she had tried to distance herself from the chaos. What's going on? She asked, fear creeping into her voice. He's been struggling. He's in a bad place, and I don't know how to help him, her mother admitted, her voice cracking. I thought you should know. Mia felt a whirlwind of emotions crash over her, anger, sadness, and confusion. The man who had caused her family so much pain was now reaching out for help. She didn't know how to process it. I can't do this right now, Mom, Mia said, her voice barely above a whisper. I need to focus on my own recovery. Mia, I understand. But please, if you can find it in your heart to reach out, I think it could help both of you, her mother pleaded. As she hung up the phone, Mia felt a familiar darkness creep back into her thoughts. The trauma of her past clashed with the progress she had made, leaving her feeling fragmented. The weight of her father's struggles weighed heavily on her heart, and she felt torn between the desire to protect herself and the urge to extend compassion. That night, Mia lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The thoughts swirled in her mind like a tempest, and she felt utterly lost. Just when she thought she had found her footing, the ground beneath her felt unstable once again. In the days that followed, Mia struggled to focus on her classes and her writing. The internal battle raged on, pulling her back into the depths of doubt. But as she met with Clara and Jenna, she knew she couldn't let herself spiral again. Mia, you're allowed to feel overwhelmed, Jenna said during one of their hangouts. It's a lot to take in, but don't forget what you've accomplished. You've come so far. Mia nodded, but the fear lingered. I just don't want to go back to that dark place. I thought I was done with it. It's not about going back or forward. It's about accepting where you are right now, Clara said gently. You're not defined by your past or your father's struggles. You're stronger than you think. Those words resonated with Mia, and she took a deep breath. Maybe it was time to confront the past, not to allow it to control her, but to reclaim her narrative. She decided to write a letter to her father, expressing her feelings and the impact his choices had on her life. With each word, she poured out her heart, acknowledging the pain while also expressing a willingness to understand. Writing the letter became a cathartic release, allowing her to confront her emotions without fear of judgment. When she finished, Mia felt a sense of liberation. She decided to share the letter with Jenna and Clara, seeking their support as she navigated this complex relationship. "This is so powerful, Mia," Jenna said, her eyes shining with pride. "You're taking control of your story. Just remember, you don't have to send it right away. Take your time to process," Clara added gently. Mia nodded, recognizing the importance of pacing herself. With their encouragement, she chose to keep the letter for now, allowing herself the space to reflect on what it meant to her. In the following weeks, as Mia continued to grow in her writing and friendships, she also noticed a shift within herself. The anxiety that once dominated her thoughts began to ease, replaced by a newfound sense of purpose. She started considering ways to use her experiences to help others, perhaps through writing or advocacy work. One evening, as she sat in the campus library, she stumbled upon a flyer for a mental health awareness event scheduled for the following month. The event aimed to raise awareness and reduce stigma surrounding mental health issues, featuring speakers, workshops, and creative showcases. Mia's heart raced at the thought of sharing her story with a larger audience. She imagined standing before a crowd, speaking about her journey and the importance of reaching out for help. It felt like an opportunity to transform her pain into something meaningful. That night, as she shared her thoughts with Jenna and Clara, they encouraged her to submit an application to be one of the speakers. "Your story deserves to be heard, Mia," Clara said, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "You could inspire others who are struggling." With their support, Mia decided to take the leap. She spent hours crafting her application, weaving her experiences into a narrative that spoke to the power of resilience and the importance of community. When she finally hit submit, a wave of exhilaration washed over her. But just as she was embracing this new chapter, she received another message from her mother. "Mia, your father wants to talk. He's reached out for help, and he's asking for you." Mia's heart sank. The invitation to reconnect felt both terrifying and necessary. As she contemplated her decision, she felt the weight of her past pressing down on her. Could she truly navigate this without losing herself again? In the weeks that followed, Mia focused on her upcoming speaking engagement while also processing her father's request. She leaned on Jenna and Clara, who provided a steady stream of encouragement and support. When the day of the event finally arrived, Mia felt a mixture of nerves and excitement. She stood backstage, heart racing as she listened to the speakers before her share their powerful stories. Each word resonated with her, reminding her of the strength that could be found in vulnerability. When it was her turn, she stepped onto the stage, facing the audience. As she began to speak, Mia poured her heart into every word, sharing her journey with anxiety and depression, the importance of seeking help, and the power of community. As she spoke, she could feel the energy in the room shift, and she saw nods of understanding and compassion among the audience. It was as if she was no longer just telling her story. She was creating a connection that resonated with others. After the event, Mia felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her. She had faced her fears and shared her truth. The applause from the audience was a reminder that her voice mattered. But just as she was savoring this victory, she received a call from her mother later that night. "Mia, your father, he's in the hospital. He had a breakdown, and he's asking for you." The news struck her like a punch to the gut. In that moment, everything she had worked for felt precarious, like a carefully balanced house of cards on the brink of collapse. Would she be able to handle this while navigating her own journey of healing? Mia took a deep breath, grounding herself as she gathered her thoughts. She needed to confront this once and for all, not to succumb to the pain, but to seek understanding. After a moment of contemplation, she decided to go to the hospital. Arriving at the hospital, Mia felt her heart race. She had always associated this place with fear and uncertainty, but as she walked through the sterile halls, she reminded herself of the strength she had cultivated over the past few months. When she entered her father's room, she found him sitting on the bed, a frail version of the man she had once known. His face was pale, and there was a vulnerability in his eyes that had long been masked by anger and detachment. "Mia," he said softly, his voice trembling, "I didn't know if you would come." "I'm here," she replied, her voice steady despite the tumult of emotions swirling within her. "What happened?" He looked down, shame evident in his posture. "I've been struggling for a long time. I didn't want you to see me like this. I thought I could handle it alone, but I was wrong." Mia felt a mixture of anger and compassion flooding her heart. "You've hurt our family, Dad. Your struggles affected me more than you know," she said, the words spilling out before she could catch them. "I know." "I'm so sorry, Mia. I didn't want to be a burden. I thought if I kept it hidden, you'd be okay," he admitted, tears brimming in his eyes. Mia took a deep breath, fighting back her own emotions. "But hiding doesn't help. We need to face this together, Dad. It's time for you to get the help you need." As they talked, Mia felt a shift within her. This was no longer about the past, but about forging a new path forward, one where they could confront their pain and work toward healing together. In that moment, she realized that compassion didn't mean excusing his behavior. It meant acknowledging the complexity of their relationship and embracing the possibility of growth. Over the next few weeks, Mia continued to support her father as he entered treatment. They attended family therapy sessions, and through the process, they began to rebuild a fragile connection that had been strained for so long. It wasn't easy, and there were moments of tension and hurt, but both of them were committed to the journey. Simultaneously, Mia thrived in her own recovery, fueled by the strength of her friendships and the cathartic power of writing. Clara and Jenna became her anchors, encouraging her to share her experiences through her writing, while also providing unwavering support as she navigated her relationship with her father. As summer approached, Mia felt a profound sense of transformation. She had weathered the storms of her past, faced the shadows that once loomed large, and emerged on the other side with a renewed sense of purpose. One evening, as she sat outside with Clara and Jenna, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink, Mia reflected on the journey she had taken. "Look how far we've come," Clara said, her voice filled with awe. "I'm so proud of you, Mia." Mia smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without both of you. You've been my lifeline." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow around them, Mia felt a sense of hope radiating from within. The path ahead might still be uncertain, but she was ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. The journey wasn't over, but she had learned the power of resilience, connection, and the beauty of vulnerability. Armed with these lessons, Mia stepped into the future with an open heart, ready to face whatever came next. Mia felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her as she submitted her final paper for the semester. The weight of deadlines and the intensity of her studies had faded, replaced by a profound sense of purpose. She had grown so much in the past few months, not only as a student but as a person who had learned the importance of resilience and connection. One evening, while she sat in her favorite cafe with Clara and Jenna, a notification pinged on her phone. It was an email from a prestigious mental health organization inviting her to speak at their upcoming national conference. Her heart raced as she opened the message, the words, "We believe your story is powerful," standing out like a beacon of hope. "I got invited to speak at a conference," she explained, her voice a mix of disbelief and excitement. Clara's eyes lit up. "That's amazing, Mia. You have to do it." Jenna leaned forward, her enthusiasm contagious. "This is your chance to share your story with even more people. You can inspire so many." Mia felt a swell of anxiety alongside her excitement. But what if I mess up? What if my story isn't enough? Your story is more than enough, Clara reassured her. You've come so far, and this is a chance to help others. With her friend's encouragement, Mia accepted the invitation. Over the next few weeks, she poured her heart into preparing her speech, weaving in her experiences with anxiety, recovery, and the importance of community support. Clara and Jenna spent countless hours helping her practice, providing feedback, and reminding her of her strength. Just when Mia thought she was ready, an unexpected message arrived in her inbox from an old friend from high school, Sarah. They had drifted apart after graduation, but Sarah reached out to reconnect, sharing that she had been on a similar journey with mental health. Mia felt a mixture of curiosity and apprehension as she read Sarah's message. They arranged to meet, and as Mia entered the cafe where they had agreed to meet, a rush of nostalgia washed over her. Hey, it's so good to see you, Sarah greeted her with a warm smile. Mia felt a flutter of nervousness as they sat down. You too. I can't believe it's been so long. As they caught up, Mia learned about Sarah's struggles with anxiety and depression. Hearing her friend's story resonated deeply, and Mia found herself opening up about her own journey, the struggles she faced, and the growth she had experienced. You've done amazing things, Mia, Sarah said, her eyes shining with admiration. It's inspiring to see how far you've come. Their reunion brought back memories of their teenage years, both the laughter and the moments of pain. Mia realized how much she had changed, but she also acknowledged the lingering feelings of unresolved conflict from their past friendship. As the days passed, Mia immersed herself in her preparation for the conference. The excitement built as the date approached, but so did her nerves. On the day of the event, she arrived at the conference center, feeling a whirlwind of emotions. The venue buzzed with energy, attendees mingling and sharing their stories. Mia took a deep breath, reminding herself of the purpose behind her speech. She met other speakers, each with their own powerful narratives, and felt a sense of camaraderie as they shared their journeys. When it was finally her turn to speak, she stepped onto the stage, the spotlight illuminating her path. The audience was filled with faces eager to listen. As she began, Mia felt a surge of vulnerability, and with each word, she shared her heart. I stand before you today, not just as someone who has battled anxiety and depression, but as a testament to the power of connection and community. She began. The room fell silent as her story unfolded, the challenges she faced echoing within the hearts of many. The audience responded with nods of understanding, and she could see the impact her words had on them. As she spoke, she shared her journey of resilience, the importance of seeking help, and the beauty of vulnerability. After her speech, Mia was overwhelmed by the response. Attendees approached her with tears in their eyes, expressing gratitude for her honesty. Thank you for sharing your story, one woman said, her voice trembling. It gave me hope. Mia felt a sense of empowerment wash over her. She had used her pain to create a connection, transforming it into something beautiful. As the conference continued, Mia enjoyed workshops and discussions, absorbing knowledge and inspiration. But amid the excitement, she received a call from her mother that shook her to the core. Mia, it's your father. He had another episode, and he's back in the hospital. Her mother's voice was filled with worry. Mia's heart sank. She felt a surge of fear and uncertainty wash over her. Just as she had begun to embrace her healing journey, her past threatened to pull her back into the shadows. I'll come as soon as I can, Mia replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil within her. As the conference concluded, Mia felt a tug of war between the joy of her experience and the heaviness of her family's struggles. She returned home, heart racing as she entered the hospital. Seeing her father lying in the hospital bed, frail and vulnerable, brought back all the emotions she had worked so hard to confront. Mia, he whispered, his eyes filled with regret. "I didn't want to pull you back into this." "I know, Dad," she replied softly, stepping closer. "But we need to face this together. You can't keep hiding." Their conversations were filled with raw emotions, vulnerability, and the commitment to rebuild their relationship. Through family therapy sessions, they navigated the complexities of their past, learning to communicate openly and honestly. In the following weeks, Mia found a balance between supporting her father and focusing on her own healing. Her writing flourished as she poured her heart into her journal, processing her experiences and capturing the beauty of resilience. As summer approached, Mia's friendships deepened, and she continued to advocate for mental health awareness. She organized a local event, inspired by her experience at the conference, to bring the community together and share stories of hope. One evening, as Mia and her friends sat outside, planning the details of the event, she felt a wave of gratitude. "I couldn't have made it this far without you both," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "You've been our rock, Mia," Clara replied. "Your strength inspires us all." With their support, Mia felt empowered to embrace the uncertainty of the future. They finalized plans for their road trip, an adventure that symbolized their growth and the promise of new beginnings. As they packed the car, laughter echoed through the air, and Mia felt a sense of joy that had once felt out of reach. The road stretched before them, representing the journey they had all taken together. With the wind in her hair and her friends by her side, Mia felt a newfound sense of hope and resilience. She had faced the darkness, embraced vulnerability, and emerged stronger than ever.